Hello, and welcome to another episode of Grammy's Protein Kitchen. Today, we're going to be going to a potluck. So, today I'm going to make buffalo chicken chili, and I'm actually going to double the recipe. Now, when I put the ingredient listing on my screen up here, I will put it that for a single recipe, but know that the ingredient numbers might be a little different because I'm doubling the recipe instead of a single recipe. So I'm going to start with chicken and throw it in the crock pot. Here I have 3 pounds of chicken. The recipe calls for 1.5 pounds. So it's really frozen in here. Here's the chicken. And just gonna throw everything in. Now it says to use canned corn. I have frozen corn. This is 2 cans, 14.5 ounces, a 14.5 ounce can. So I'd be using 2 cans. I'm not sure how much is in here, but I'm just gonna dump the rest of this bag in. Figured close enough. Then I have some Great Northern beans. I drained them. I didn't rinse them, I just drained them. I'm gonna throw those in. And more beans. Throw that in. And then I have some Hunt's fire roasted diced tomatoes. I'm gonna put those in. And I've got 2 cans of those since I'm doubling the recipe. Okay. And you're supposed to use a packet of ranch seasoning mix. So again, since I'm doubling, I'm using 2. Okay. And it says a 14.5 ounce can of chicken broth. I've got a 32 ounce container. It's a little bit more than it, but I figured that should be fine. I'm going to dump that in. Okay. And I have some wing sauce. It says to use between 1/4 and 1/2 cup. Well, I'm doubling the recipe. I'm going to put in 1/2 cup. Normally, I just put 1/4 cup in and have this sitting out to the side. So if people want more buffalo sauce in their chili, they can add it. You can always add more at the table, but you can't take it away. So, and Pappy's not a super fan of buffalo, so I always just use the minimum. And then I have some other spices. I have a 1/2 teaspoon. Now, the recipe calls for 1/2 teaspoon. I have a teaspoon of cilantro, onion powder, garlic powder, and celery seed. And I have about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. It says a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, so I put a 1/2 in. So dumping all those in there. And let me give that a bit of a stir. Try to get some of the seasoning all mixed together into the liquid. Okay. I am going to set my crock pot on high, especially since the chicken is frozen. If it wasn't frozen, probably wouldn't need to put it on high. Low would probably be good enough, but since the chicken's frozen, I put that on high. And we have running around to do before our potluck. But before we go, I'll shred the chicken and add some cream cheese to the mix. But that'll be later when we catch up to you again. Okay, we just got home and my crock pot smells great. Grab the lid off. Now I'm just gonna, let me turn it down some. I'm just gonna shred the chicken in the pot and get this all shredded instead of pulling. I could pull it out and shred it if that way if I prefer, but it gets just as easy to shred it in the pot. And it doesn't really matter if there's some pieces that are bigger than other pieces. It just all eats the same way. So, and make sure this is all shredded good, cooked up real well. It's all that basically the chicken's done. It cooked. And I know some people, some of the older original crock pots, you couldn't really put frozen food into them. But I have not had any problems putting frozen meat into my crock pot. It gets hot enough that cooks it through. Now, if my meat would not have been cooked, I would not have been frozen before I stuck it in, and it was fresh, I would have just put it on low all day. But because of it being frozen, I put it on high. And like I said, I've doubled the recipe because we're taking it to a potluck dinner tonight. And I figured that way it could feed everybody if everybody wanted some. This is shredding really easily, and the broth, it doesn't look real thick right now. It'll thicken up some as I shred the chicken, and the chicken takes up more space. But then I'm going to be putting some cream cheese in this too, and that'll thicken it up some too. But this has been a favorite. We like when we go to the beach in the summer for vacation. I like throwing it in the crock pot then, and I've taken it to work when we've had luncheons at work. And now that I'm trying to make sure I get enough protein, this one's got plenty of protein in it. And hey, I think I've got the chicken pretty well shredded. Now for each batch, since I'm doubling it, I need 2 blocks of cream cheese. This one was an open one. I used a little bit out of it, not a whole lot. So I'm gonna throw that in here. And then I have another block. We'll throw that whole thing in. And then need to stir it around then till it's melted into the chili. This isn't wanting to open for me. There we go. Okay, and let's get that stirred in and get that melted. There's another bigger piece of chicken. Let me shred that up a little bit more. But you can see that the broth has changed because of the cheese in it. And break apart the cream cheese and get it in smaller pieces so it melts a little quicker too. And like I said, when I serve it, I have some the bottle of buffalo sauce. So if anybody wants to add more buffalo to their chili, they can do that. And another bigger piece of chicken. Okay. All right. I think that's pretty good. There might be some more bigger pieces of the cheese in there, but that'll dissolve and I'll stir it good again before we serve it at the potluck. But I'm gonna dish a little up, make sure I get a little bit of everything there. Now I only put a little bit in my bowl. Oh, maybe I'll put a little more in there so I can get a good picture of it too. Okay, so there's the buffalo chicken chili. And like I said, this is one of my favorite. It's easy to do. I can throw it in the crock pot and then just shred up the chicken when it's done and add the cream cheese, and we got a good meal. Very, very good. Now, a single recipe of this serves 6 people. It's got 324 calories, 37 grams of protein, and 5 grams of fiber. So it'll keep you going for a while. And don't forget, if you like this video, please click like and be sure to subscribe, and so you won't miss the next video. Thank you. Bye.